Support for WBFO and What's Next comes from our members and from Health Foundation for Western and Central New York, where racial and socioeconomic health equity are prioritized. Learn more about building healthier neighborhoods at hfwcny.org.
From Buffalo Toronto Public Media, this is What's Next, an hour dedicated to amplifying the voices of marginalized and underrepresented communities across Western New York and Southern Ontario.
We cannot erase, we cannot reform, we cannot make things better if we're uncomfortable having tough conversations,
Absolutely.
if we're uncomfortable talking about race.
What's Next carries forward our mission to engage in meaningful conversations about race, equity, and the shared concerns that deeply affect Buffalo's East Side and beyond.
Don't stop. Make those families part of your life. Their lives are part of yours. Don't stop.
Together, we dive into the real issues, striving for understanding, connection, and change.
In the suburban area, everywhere, we must work and teach our children.
Welcome to What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media, where we dive into the stories, issues, and people shaping Western New York and beyond. I'm your host today, Naila Ansari Catilo. We're shining a light on the true backbone of our community, and that's our educators, from teachers to principals, administrators to support staff. I think I got all that right.
Yes.
These are the individuals who show up every day to inspire, nurture, and guide the next generation, often without the recognition they deserve. But Teacher Appreciation Week kicking off May 5th is the perfect time to highlight an event that's doing just that, the 6th Annual Excellence in Education Awards.
Yeah.
They got that? Yay! I have Terry and Nina Hurd with us today, and I'm so excited you all are here. Thank you for joining us, and we are going to talk about this amazing event that you all have been hosting and awarding folks in the community, and also the Friends for a Better Buffalo.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us, right? We're so excited to be here with you this morning. So
I am
on this
too.
Beautiful, sunny Buffalo day.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And, I'm always honored to talk to educators because I feel like you all really make the world go round. And I'm often like, we need to have more educators on all the time.
So let me tell you. So he was an educator, right? I was in advanced manufacturing, but this one right here, he was an educator.
He was also adjunct professor.
Yeah, that's right. Adjunct professor.
That's
So,
education.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Okay, I'll fall in that. I'll go with that.
So can you all tell us about Friends for a Better Buffalo and the inspiration behind the Excellence in Education Awards?
Okay, well, we start with the Excellent Education Awards. I used to teach here in the city of Buffalo, and this is Terrence Hurd, and I'd seen people retire. They work their whole lives with our children in the workforce, in our schools, in our buildings. Help raising children to become adults, and and just reach their highest peaks in their life. Find out what they want to do, and go through the struggles of adolescence and childhood. And they become real prosperous young adults. But these teachers, they retire, and they didn't get any type of recognition or response. And so I've seen some just retire, don't receive a watch, don't receive a pen, a clock or anything like that. And I said one day, when I get in a position, I would like to find a way to recognize these individuals who really, really contribute their entire life to working with our young people. And so that's the Excellent Education Awards were born.
That's amazing. It's so funny because I always think of celebrities that come back, they kind of do those, remember back when, and they always mention teachers that were the ones to help them get to where they are.
Absolutely.
And, you just think of, people bringing in like their 3rd grade teacher or their 4th grade teacher that helped inspire them. And so this is amazing that you're doing that. Because everyone doesn't necessarily get to have a celebrity, right, that can give them that kind of recognition.
But I tell you, if you ask any of your listeners, can they name a teacher or principal, someone who worked in the school system who really made a difference in their life, good, bad, or indifferent, I bet all of us can think of top of mind, one person in the school system, right? I had a coach, Mr. Pratt. I had a third grade teacher, Ms. Neely. They just come top of mind of folks who worked in the school system who really made a difference in my life. So I think all of your listeners can appreciate the Excellence Education Awards.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think of all my teachers, and I see them now, and I'm like, I see Miss Appleby all the time, Miss Willoughby. I'm shouting out all my teachers that were amazing, and even more that I didn't mention, but they're like friends, or there's such support systems for not just me, but folks that I grew up with as well.
Absolutely.
This is the 6th year. So how has the event grown? Because 6 years is not easy to keep going for awards.
Okay, let's start here.
How it started and how we had to pivot.
Yes, we had this idea about the Excellent Education Awards, running through our Friends for a Better Buffalo organization. We started that in 2015.
So this is our 10th year.
10th year anniversary.
Friends for a Better Buffalo, yeah.
10th year anniversary, yes. And so what we did was I said, okay, I really, think about our mission with Friends for a Better Buffalo is about community health, building this awareness and bringing community wealth also to understand, how to navigate through Buffalo and, working with our other nonprofit programs, being an umbrella type organization so that we can actually connect other organizations together. But I said, okay, we on this mission, but then also, we do things like feed hungry or the poor, we give clothing, we get prom dresses, and everything out that we can to help, build our youth. And so I said, let's work on this Excellent Education Awards. And then when we said, okay, what does this look like? It was 2019 when we started. Mm-hmm. And then we got this plan because we got this auditorium. We're gonna be big. We're gonna open it up.
Right?
We gotta get that awareness out to all the schools and the teachers because we not only do public school, we do private and charter school also. Mm-hmm. So it encompasses everything in the city of Buffalo because these are all our families, all our children, mm-hmm. And as a board member, I got a little slack because of that. Being elected as an elected official, and but I said, okay, we have to do this. We have to put this award show together. So. When we pivoted in 2019, then suddenly in 2020, you remember COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And we had to cancel everything. The theater we were at, they had to cancel. Everybody had to cancel because everything was shut down. And so we said, how can we still get this show on? Middle of the night, it woke up. I was just pondering and thinking about it. And I said, we're making some phone calls in the morning. Mm-hmm. So we made some phone calls. We reached out to Don DeCilio over at WBBZ mm-hmm. Television. That was one of our contacts. Mm-hmm. And we told him what the plan was about the Excellent Education Awards. He said, let's do it.
Awesome.
Awesome. We were able to pivot and have the show, and all those CEOs, college presidents, all these influencers in Buffalo who are our award presenters, they jumped right on board. They did their videos virtually so that we could still do the show. Everyone came in with their mask, took their mask off, recorded their video. I mean, it was just amazing how everyone still jumped on board and still wanted to honor these educators. So that was our beginning, right? COVID season.
Just think about getting over close to 500 that first year awardees, the nominations.
Oh, wow.
Nominations, and getting these people, their bios out and emails all through the same struggles they're going through COVID and trying to do education. So
300 the first year.
And everybody's on Zoom and Google trying to figure out how to teach.
Right,
so the first 2 years were virtual, and then since then it's been in person. But
that was our commitment. Our commitment was to get the show on, and it went on television the first year.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so, yes, and for the first 2 years, we went to WBBZ Television, and which we felt was very amazing. And we put the show out, YouTube. We got contacts
social
back
media.
from all over the country and other countries also. Right. People say this is an amazing type show because nobody never did it before. It's the first time ever that we did it to this capacity, that someone ever did it to this capacity. Right. And then the third year, ABC Channel 7, WKBW picked us up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
fourth year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was just amazing that it spread it that quick, and now being on a national broadcasting station, it's just shows the dedication, from the Friends for a Better Buffalo, our committee, a wonderful committee that's put together, and just the teachers themselves, and the coaches, the cafeteria workers, the janitors. Everybody's included in this award show because it's what we base it upon. Probably get to this a little bit later on, but we base this awards upon not just your regular base job at school, what you do, but what's the extra things that you do with children to help uplift them, and just to help them grow and become the positive adults that they can be.
For sure.
Right.
And I know you've all had a lot of honorees. So who are some of your honorees that you've had? Who are some of the honorees this year? And what are some inspiring stories?
So let me tell you. So we've had, how the process goes, right? We have over 500 folks that were nominated all across Western New York, but they're Buffalo Public Private Charter School individuals, right? So then a committee boils it down. And then we got all the way down to like 131 finalists that are spread across 17 categories. And just like the Image Awards and the Oscars and Grammys, they will be announced at the show, right? So that's what's going to happen. So some of the amazing folks, it's so difficult. It's been so difficult this year.
I was going to say, what is that process? Because I'm sure everyone's incredible.
You have individuals who have been educators for 30 plus years, 20 plus years, some that's 10 years, but they're doing things in the community. They're doing things from not just backpack or feeding different individuals within the school, but they're helping their students mature, get through life. Like if their families were struggling with something, they go out their way to help these families. So it's what do you guys call it? Total school or all school? It's like it's not just the whole home concept. So it's not like they just focus on the children when they're inside the building, but the whole family. They're focused on the whole family and supporting the whole family. So it's just a wonderful thing reading these bios, because what's interesting, how we get to the point of who is the award category recipient is that the nominators submit their things. But just like, I don't know much as much as I know about Nye, but I know a little bit about you, right? So we have to ask the finalists, okay, can you submit your bio? Because then we ask, can you tell us even more about yourself? And that's when we get those wonderful stories of what they're doing, not only inside the classroom, but outside the classroom as well. So we have folks who are actors, actresses, especially in the music and arts category. So they're not only teaching our young people inside the school, but then they're taking it outside the school building, and they're teaching young people in the community about music and arts and how engaging and so fulfilling that can be. So it's just interesting reading the bios, but it was so difficult.
And what
it's
it
so
really,
difficult
really
choosing
does
those.
says is that our teachers, our staff members, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And when you
Multifaceted
dedicate your life, to working with the youth, our children, and you really, trying to educate them and really help them get to those parallels in life, this is their life dedication. And in the past, they had never had an outlet that they can, show, everybody else what they do except for the parents, And as an educator, the greatest thing to see is a child grow up and, become young adults and walk across that stage. That's the greatest thing. I don't care who you are. Tears come in your eyes when you see, the upbringing of that child. And then if you keep on teaching, then you see their children come in.
Yes.
And so, it's just an amazing career. And I think the educators, I always say that they should be the highest paid profession in the world.
But what's humbling though? What's interesting is that many of these folks are so humble and humbling. You'll call them and they say, really? Is this for me? And we're like, yes. Yes, this was for you. You were nominated. You were selected. And so they are just so shocked and just humble. It's just interesting when you call them and you announce that they were selected as a finalist. And they're like, are you sure? And they thought it was was this serious? Like, is this spam? And we're like, no.
Right.
Like a couple of them we had to call and contact like 2 or 3 different times or say, hey, nominator, can you call your finalist and let them know? That they've read their email and they know seriously that this is for them. We want to honor them and celebrate them and give them their roses now. So it's just interesting. Yeah.
Yes, it's like the first 2 years of the program, it's a new program.
Right.
We just announced it, and activating the program, so you get these emails come across. Teachers get tons of emails, and it's like, okay, you flick through it. So we actually had our our staff member. We have like a committee of over 50 people that's been working with us
wow.
throughout this. Yes,
So you have a lot of
they
folks
volunteer.
I think
It takes a lot of people to put this production together. It's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of moving things, and financially, it's a struggle to keep going forward. But we're dedicated to keep moving, and because production costs getting higher and higher every year, and for this to be filmed live and then actually edited and then put on television, it's amazing. It's just amazing that we got these people who love our community so much that they say, okay, we're going to dedicate our lives, but we're going to volunteer also to make sure this cause work.
So how can people help? So financially, is there a place that they can, send money, or if they want to volunteer, can they reach out and say, hey, I want to volunteer and help, or I want to give some money, or I want to give other resources?
Absolutely. Definitely visit us at Friends with an S, friendsforabetterbuffalo.com. Friendsforabetterbuffalo.com. And you can go on there, the website, and you can find all about the wonderful things that we're doing in Western New York and beyond, because we also do things outside of the four walls of Buffalo or Western New York. So go there. You can also check us out on our Instagram page of Friends for a Better Buffalo, or our Facebook page, which is the Excellence in Education Awards Buffalo. That's where you'll find stories about past recipients, really things that we're doing in the community. So check us out on all those different social media sites.
And we'll say that probably 3 more times during this interview to make sure folks go out and support you.
Friendsforabetterbuffalo.com.
Yes, friendsforabetterbuffalo.com. So I am a public school proud Olmsted alum before there was a high school.
Yes.
And then I'm also a private school Buffalo Seminary proud alumna. And, I think that it's important that you all cover private, public, and charter. Can you talk about the importance of that and being able to cover all 3 of those sectors?
Yes. I just felt the need because these are all our children, all our family members. These are all our neighbors. And I was an elected official here in Buffalo, served on the Buffalo School Board for 5 years, 5+ years. And when I put this together, it's like, okay, why are you doing these other places? It's like, it's always seemed to be like a competition, against school districts or against schools, that operate within the same vicinity. And I said, no, these are all our children. These are our babies. And our teachers, like we said, dedicated their lives, for education. And no matter if you're in a public school, a charter school, or a private school, you are part of us. And we want to make sure that we recognize you for your works. And no matter where you're at in life, where you're an administrator, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a coach, whether you're a counselor, whether you're a cafeteria worker, you're part of this puzzle, part of this organization. So we want to make sure that they was all inclusive with this.
Right. How do you all help to uplift the Western New York community in terms of education? Because there's so many different perceptions of like rural versus public versus suburban. Mm-hmm. How do you all kind of help to bridge that gap together so people understand one another more, as opposed to kind of like their differences or making the assumption that, one group gets more money than the other and so they're supported in a certain kind of way? How do you all kind of help bridge the understanding?
He can speak to that one, but I'll say from the Excellence Education Awards, how we really bridge it is that we bring all those folks to the room and we help them understand that, like our award presenters, they represent all facets of Western New York, again, from college presidents to CEOs of companies. And so we bring all these folks in the room to let them know that we appreciate them. And so they're all, when you look at the categories, we have different individuals who are pre-K through 3rd grade teachers, and there are charter schools, there's private schools, there's public schools. All of them are listed, so they're all on the equal playing field. So we let them know it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're on the east side of Buffalo, west side of Buffalo, where you teach. We're all Buffalonians. And I say that now because I've learned to love Buffalo. I'm actually from Michigan, right? But I'm now a Buffalonian. And so we're all Buffalo. We all represent Buffalo. We're all, these Buffalo Bills fans, right? Mm-hmm. So we're all Buffalo. And so we bring them all to the room. We bring them all to the table and let them know they're all on the same playing field. And we love all of you the same. And so Excellence Education, Excellence Education Awards, I think is able to bring those people. They can network and mingle and chat and and they see the struggles that each other are and can talk about that, right, quickly while they're networking. But I think that's what we do. The Excellence Education Awards brings to the table. And so maybe you can talk from a different perspective.
So we all know that who lives in Buffalo and Western New York, we know that this is a beautiful place. This is a wonderful city with wonderful attributes, you know, as far as its food, as far as education, as far as its cultures. And in Buffalo, it's like the melting pot theory. We have everybody from Bosnian to Irish, Italian, Polish. We have German, Hungarian, Jewish, Greek, Arabian, Arab, you know, African American. I mean, it's just so many different community that lives here. So to reach everybody, we must bring everybody to the table, and that's what's so important about, you know, what we do with our Friends for a Better Buffalo and what our school districts do. We don't even recognize it or realize it, but it's like with so many different cultures that's in our schools. I know we have over 85 different languages that's spoken in the Buffalo Public Schools. And that's one thing the public school offer is the ability, you know, to have those educators to come and teach these individuals, even though some may not be able to reach them, but we got to bring somebody in that can, you know, reach them, or bring somebody in from other countries that understand the language and dialect that's multicultural and you know, multiverbal, you know, with languages that can educate them. So this is a responsibility to us also. So we really got to be accountable for each and every child that's in the schools. We got to be accountable for their education and give them a pathway to success.
So what's the importance? Because, you know, I work at Buffalo State, proud Buffalo State professor here.
Yeah.
What's the importance of getting students to actually go into education? Because you know, it's difficult sometimes because people are like, I don't want to deal with kids. I don't want to do, but it's such a beautiful experience. And also, you know, it's difficult because, you know, the assumption is you don't get paid and all these other things. How do we start to build that?
I think you all were working on that.
Yes, well, everything starts at home.
Yes.
Everything starts at home. It start with parenting. It start with being, like I said, being accountable and being responsible. You know what's going on in your household. You know, making sure that your child is getting the tools that it needs to be successful. You know, all the way from birth to when they ready to leave the house, go to college, or if they don't leave the house after they go to college. Right. But just give them all those tools. But it's all about preparation. It's all about responsibility, you know, and one of the biggest things that we're missing right now is religion. You know, that's important also. But just understanding your culture, who you are, where you came from, and you know what attributes that you can give to this life, this culture. As you can see, things changes all the time. When I was young, you know, we had television with thick glass tubes on it, you know, black and white started out when I was born. And now we have 3D televisions, you know, you know, thin screen, giant television screens. And, you know, I remember everybody in the living room, you know, sitting around this little tiny wooden box inside your living room. And that's what we watch. And everybody, you know, it was small too. And everybody just tuned into it. You know, that was family. Yeah. So what does it look like today? So our children got to be prepared to see what tomorrow's look like. And they are tomorrow, you know, their ideas, their thoughts, you know, and we got the smartest kids in the world right here. We got the most talented kids in the world right here in Buffalo, Western New York. And if we don't give them these opportunities to teach them and work with us, work with our state education department, work with our governor to make sure we got adequate monies and programs and opportunities for these children, you know, we leaving them behind. So, like I said, being accountable is our responsibility to make sure that we give them all the necessary tools that they can build to move forward.
I think what's interesting too for the Excellence Education Awards, I think the students are starting to value their educators, because we actually have students that nominate their teachers.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. So they are starting to understand, and that you should read the commentary that they put relative to their teachers. And you know it's from a child, and we kind of block out the name so we don't know exactly who's who, but you can tell like this is a student, how it's written. So you know the students are valuing their teachers and their educators, and it's heartwarming to hear when a student talks about it.
And we have to really go through our disclaimer right now because, yes, with the Friends for Better Buffalo, with this Excellent Education Awards, just know that myself, Terrence, and Nina Hurt, we're not part of the selection process for the winners or the nominators of the teachers. So we have a very, very large, strong committee that works together. We got people that's in ahead of Fortune 500 companies here in Buffalo. We got people that's running and working in different organizations and industries that actually make the selections, but we do read over every single bio that comes in, and because I know a lot of teachers, so I don't want to have any biased purposes about selections and stuff. Cause I get phone calls all the time.
Like, did you do
all
that?
the time? I'm selected, and what do I need to wear? What do I need to say? We get these calls all the time, but it said no, we're not part of the selection process. To be fair, and that so when I'm at the show and I'm sitting down watching the show, it's a surprise to us.
Oh, that's awesome. So you all don't even know who is going to win.
Not until when the envelope is opened. So not even the award presenters don't even know. The production team knows.
Yeah, because they have to put everything together.
But the award presenters who go on stage, they don't know until they open that envelope.
But that's actually very exciting,
right?
So then there's kind of not this bias thing, right? Because that's a big issue with award shows right now.
Absolutely,
these major award shows, is everyone kind of is like favoritism.
They do not know. The production team knows who wins.
And 50 people is a lot. That's a range.
It's been over 50.
You're talking about the voting committee.
The voting committee, yeah.
Yes, it's actually over 50, but we just round it off. But throughout the years, we have people that can dedicate the time to it, and some years, they can't. So it's like we're training people every year to be part of this. And this year we brought a lot more youth, for the running show itself. Mm-hmm. And people don't understand the show. So the show is like a Hollywood production. What we do, we bring Hollywood to Buffalo. So the first part of the show is different parts of the show. The first part is our picture day. Where we do our photographs.
So it's like a pre-event show where all of the honorees, we celebrate them and they get to come and have their photos taken and mingle and network, and no happy hour, unfortunately.
Interviews.
But they do get the interviews and they get a chance to walk on the red carpet before the actual day and just really get to celebrate them. So we
get to feel what it is.
So we were able to do that in March. So the finalists, they all got a chance to meet each other. A month ago. Yeah, they got a chance to just hang out, meet each other, get their photos taken, and it's kind of cool.
Yes, and then so like you said, like a Emmy Award or the Grammy Awards. My wife visit a couple of them and see how they operate and work. We went to California, New York, down in Florida, Miami, and visit a lot of them. And so we mimic, what they do. So the second part, the red carpet. Oh my goodness, it's a lot of work. So that's a whole separate show itself, the red carpet. So we got the paparazzi there. Some teachers come in limousines. We have the cameras. We have the step and repeats. We have they bring your family, do the interviews. Your family get to see, celebrate you being celebrated. And it's just amazing. The tears in people's eyes and just saying this is what my mom, this is my dad doing, this is what my uncle does, my auntie, and so. After the red carpet, then we got the running show itself. That's a whole nother segment, So the running show itself, we put everything that we can every year, and every year we try to make it better. So it's the graphic work, it's the production team, it's the camera setup in the Hahn Auditorium this year at Roswell Park, who's been one of our great supporters. And
then after that, what happens?
After that is the after party.
Okay. The real party begins then.
Yeah, that's another segment of the after party. So we got a whole nother team that does the after party. It's going to be at the Westin again this year. We try to find one of our greatest hotels with the greatest ballrooms in it, and DJs, dancing, music, food. So it's all these different segments we put into one night. So it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of organizations, a lot of organizing. And it's just but when we get done with it, of course, we're exhausted.
Yes, I'm sure.
I
wouldn't expect any less from educators who have awesome classrooms day one in their school.
So that's Sunday. I don't take any phone calls unless it's an emergency.
It's a great event.
Tap out.
It's a great event. It's a great event. Yeah.
Well, stay with us. After the break, we'll dive into the real challenges educators are facing today, from policy shifts to classroom realities.
Hear Here, live music in Buffalo, New York is your guide through the melodic pulse of the city. Get a VIP behind-the-scenes look at the broad collective of vibrant festivals, historic venues, and mind-blowing artists that take the main stage and make Buffalo, New York the music destination it is. Listen to Here Here, hosted by Bentley on Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. and Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on 88.7 BTPM NPR.
You're listening to What's Next, our place to discuss the important issues of our communities of Western New York and Southern Ontario. We want to hear from you. Click on the Talk to Us option in the BTPM Listen app, and we will work to get your questions or comments on the air. Do you have a story or concern that we should be addressing? Email us using whatsnext@btpm.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is Buffalo Toronto Public Media, NPR.
Welcome back to What's Next on BTPM, Buffalo Toronto Public Media. I'm still getting used to the new change. I'm Naila Ansari Catilo, and I'm with Nina Hurd and Terrence Hurd, and we are talking everything education. We are talking about the Education Awards and Friends for a Better Buffalo.
Yes.
Welcome back, you all. We just had an awesome first segment, and I am learning so much, and like from the productions to the bios to everything that you all are doing is pretty incredible. We have Teacher Appreciation Week approaching, and so with that, what's some of the biggest challenges that you all are seeing with education today that we don't appreciate enough that our educators are doing?
Well, last year, as I served on the Board of Education here in Buffalo, one of our biggest challenges were some cutbacks that had to be made, teacher positions. So teachers who had their careers, and we had to reevaluate education, see what programs are working, and looking at the future to see what type of programs we need for our indigenous population, to keep culture and their progression, moving forward, and also with all our asylum seekers that came to Buffalo, Western New York. That's a huge challenge because we accepted 1,000 more, that young people that came here, and also in education. We not only in the Buffalo, I can speak of the Buffalo school system. Not only if you look at children for education, we have like 4 generations of people that's in our classes right now. We got the grandchildren, some got great-grandchildren, we got the children, we got the parents, and we got the grandparents and the great-grandparents. We educate all of them in our program. So it's like we said, the whole home concept, education, it doesn't stop. No matter how long as you live, every day you have something you can learn. And with the new type of jobs and creations that's coming out now, like my wife, she also serves on the board of Northern Workforce Corridor.
Yes. And
we both serve on boards of two different colleges here in Western New York also. So it's education always continue to go on no matter how old you are and what level you at. So yes, it's huge challenges, but we got the people, our teachers, our administrators, who's on top of it. They're highly trained, highly professional, and whatever comes before us, they're ready to address.
Yeah. With all the policy changes in the Department of Education, do you all feel like education is actually getting closer, like more tight-knit, that we are trying to really protect our students and, trying to make sure that, we are not letting our students kind of fall into a system? In some ways we have control, in some ways we don't. Federally, what are you kind of finding in terms of those new policies coming?
Well, looking into what our climate is like now in the country, with education, look like a lot of cutbacks at the federal level in education. It seems that federal wants the states to manage education for themselves. So what did that look like for an average person? For the state of New York to be able to take over education and fund education, with the Buffalo schools, our budget every year is for $1.28 billion. It's the highest budget, outside New York City. And so that $1.28 billion, we have to fund education with Buffalo Public Schools, for charter schools, and also private schools here in the Western New York area. And so we got to reimagine, see what this looks like. We got to see how our governor, Kathy Hochul, is going to do, and how we're going to manage monies, to fund education next year. And so there's some huge challenges coming up, not only for Buffalo, but for the rest of the districts that serves in Western New York through all our, 166 different counties in the state. So, so we really got to get together, and we got to get together as people here in Western New York to demand what we want. We got to demand the funding. And not that, taxes will go up. We understand that, and that it's look like it's right now with the Buffalo Common Council, trying to figure out, this deficit that we have, that financial cliff that they ran into. But also the Buffalo School, we had our financial cliff also. So we got to see what next year looks like, but we got to prepare and manage. But people need to get together. We need to talk. We need to say, what our expectations are for our children, for our families, for our educational systems, and for the city.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do events like the Excellence in Education Awards help to actually counterbalance some of these challenges?
Yeah, this is amazing. Let's get into this. Let's dig into this. This is amazing because throughout the years, we have finalists that didn't win an award, but we think that everybody's winners. Everybody are winners, It's so hard. It's difficult. We know that we see people, really, really, really pour their hearts and lives into this. We have teachers who do home instruction themselves, things like that. And without getting paid for it, they just want to see the child get better. And these teachers, they say, okay, Mr. Hurd, or I didn't win the award. I didn't win the award, but guess what? I realized I can do more for these children. Oh. So these teachers are now, they join like the Boys and Girl Clubs after school. They do after school programs. They'll do spend extra time with the kids of need, or they will, I have a little extra change or something I can, dig up, to make sure that these children are eating on the weekends.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you one example too, how the Excellent Education Awards have kind of encouraged the folks that work in the school system. One particular lady, she was a teacher aide, and then reading her bio recently, she has learned to appreciate and being around the children so much that now she has become a security officer, resource officer within the school. And beyond that, she then is on her way to go into school itself to work in the law field relative to children advocacy. So why doesn't that encourage you from teacher aide to resource officer, right, to now talking about being dealing with law around children advocacy. So it's just amazing how this show has encouraged individuals that they're seeing what others are doing and just encouraging themselves that, hey, I can do even more. Mm-hmm. I can do more.
Especially our teacher aides, it really encouraged them, a lot of them, to actually go get certified as teachers.
Right, yes, right. That was one of the bios as well.
And one of the amazing things that happened with this is that for some reason, our awardees every year for this show, we look back and the following year what they're doing.
At least one.
A lot of them has really, really been elevated. So
they're like, I'm gonna win next year.
From teachers now they're administrators. Yeah. From administrators now they're superintendents of school districts. Or assistant superintendents of school districts. They're getting promoted all the time. I'm not saying it's because of the show, but it's because of the attributes and but they're being recognized. And a lot of them are putting it on their bios. That this is what we receive, but it's a real promising award. This is 6th annual Excellent Education Awards, but it's really give them that credit that was way overdue. Mm-hmm. It's way overdue, for their works. But for we read about these teachers now, they're over departments, or now they're they went from assistant coach now when we got certified to be a coach, or it's just amazing.
I do think it helps when people are able to see a full picture, because a lot of times you're kind of working in your lane,
little silo
all the time, and so when you're able to see as a whole what people can do and how you can elevate yourself, I mean, there's no better place than to do that at something like an award show that you are putting together, because you get to see different bios, you get to see people's backgrounds, like, oh, I didn't even know that was a possibility.
Absolutely.
And like she said earlier, they are so modest. They're so humble.
I know. I was actually surprised that teachers wrote about themselves, because it is so difficult. They're the most humble people ever. It is so difficult for them to brag about what they do.
They're like, Nina, can you maybe send me a template, because it's just so difficult.
I always tell people it's better to have folks write about you, like saying what they think about you, and then you can say, oh, okay, I can take that and then write about myself, because we often kind of just diminish what we do. It's like, oh, that's just nothing.
You're like that quote that says, may the works and service I give speak for me.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
That's how I feel a lot of these educators are. They're like, I'll just let my works and my service speak for me. But like, no, we want to honor you. Give us a little bit more so our committee can, know more.
Yeah, but when they don't do it, they be like, okay, why didn't I win? So the next year be like, okay, if I get nominated again, I'm going to put all this in my bio.
I'm going to load it up.
And we've seen the bios change. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
But
I help with lunchtime. I help with
doing hall monitor duties. Right. I'm in the morning, volunteer, make sure kids get in the classroom or into the building, okay?
The educators just do, and they don't
Just
think
because
of
it needs
it
to be
as
done.
an extra service. They think of it as something that is just something that they want to provide for the
providing
students.
clothes for kids because they see that a child needs a coat, or boots. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's going above and beyond. They don't have to do that.
We have so many stories about that, and I also have them also when the child just comes to school every day with the same clothes on or a dirty shirt that they continuously wear or, a worn out pair of shoes, sneakers, So, we as teachers, in our hearts, we always pull those children aside and find out what they need and we try to give it to them. And don't tell anybody else. We don't tell a principal, a teacher, a counselor, or anything. Just take the time to do it upon yourselves. And this is the hearts of our staff members, the people that, and just know in the Buffalo schools, I can tell you this, that our teachers get vetted before they're hired. We want to know what their background, who they are. Of course we do background checks, but we also, want to, their interview process is very strenuous about, what their spirit is like. We can hire you because you have the credentials to work with our kids, but the mentality to work with our children, and deal with their stresses and deal with their life challenges. So, it's a very tedious process, but we really, 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 dig into, who should be an educator or is this what you need to do or should be doing? Because we have teachers that teach for a couple of years, they take off and leave.
Yeah, they was like, oh, this is more than I expected.
Invested, yeah. So, or I'm going to a different district that's less challenging, But
they end up being...
Everybody got challenges.
Yes, and I think that's something that's, to your point, I think you have to have your heart in it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're doing more than just what you go to school for.
Tara, absolutely.
It's not just...
Tara says it's a ministry. It's not just...
For me, it's a ministry.
It's a ministry.
It is.
Teaching is a ministry. It's not
and I also served on the executive board for the Erie County Association of School Boards. So I was over all schools in Erie County.
He's on the Hilbert Board of Trustees. So he understands from elementary, high school, middle school, college, overall education systems. So he gets some of the challenges that all these educators and teachers and educational leaders are experiencing.
Yeah.
And then how we can help.
Because culturally, I think people assume because of people's zip codes that there's not challenges.
Oh.
And so to your point, when people leave, like, oh, I'm going to go to the suburban school, I'm going to go. It's like everybody's growing up culturally and similar, especially after COVID.
Absolutely.
Everyone's really trying to figure out how they're going to navigate a different generation. So every generation is totally different of students.
Yes. I can tell you about this generation. Now it's some of the manufactured products that came into existence in New York State, like the edibles.
Yes, yeah. Vape and
they're designed to look like candy.
Yep.
And they're designed to mimic, the taste of candy. But and in New York State, it's not. They haven't really put law in effect about what can be in the edibles or how they can be administrated and sold. But we know that you got to be 21 years old. But children are getting these. They see them on tables in their homes, or they see them out in the streets or something, like, here, take this, take these. They give them to children and each other, and and the effects of it could be catastrophic. So but these children know what edibles are, and they see them every day now. And so what do we do about that? So the culture's changing, different times are changing. When I was young, it wasn't heard of that, you'll take grandma pills or something like that, but now children are popping them, and that's something that suburban districts have a bigger issue with than inner city kids. But inner city kids, you got, marijuana is a huge issue, going to school and where is that in the bus stops and things like that on the corners. So, everybody got different challenges no matter what district you live in.
Different but similar.
Yes,
I mean, vaping and pregnancy and different things, right? So you asked about challenges earlier, but one of our daughters is an educator, and then we have some very good friends who are educators, and they work in different parts of Erie County.
Two of our daughters.
Two of our daughters. But they're very similar, but their approach. So I think educators, yes, they have the book skills, but many of them have the soft skills, and I think that's how they overcome some of these challenges that the students are bringing into the classroom and into the school building, because they have those soft skills where they have empathy for these children, and they're not just, well, we're going to get this book work done. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm finding of those who have been nominated for the Excellent Education Awards. They really have empathy. They have that motherly or fatherly grandmother type of spirit to work with all children. Doesn't matter what side of town they come from, or what's their background, or even what kind of grades they're getting. They just want all children to succeed. And that's what the Excellent Education Awards is showing me, that these folks really love our youth, and they want to make them successful, whether they're going to be a hairstylist, a cosmetologist, or whether they're going to be the next mayor of the city of Buffalo. They just want them to succeed. And how can I help them to get there?
And build the best person that you can
build the best person. Right? Build the best person.
And Naila, I am so proud of the Buffalo schools. I'm proud of the Cheektowaga School District, the Williamsville School District, Sweet Home, because when our asylum seekers came, they accepted them.
Yes.
And, and the challenges, for teachers, okay, now we have to try to relate to these individuals, and it was coming to the classrooms, and they felt displaced because they don't understand the language, they understand our cultures, but they said they have to go to school. Mm-hmm. And, the fear of being deported, or the fear of not being successful. But then we had some people that came in from different regions, different countries, that's non-English language speakers, our English language learners. And within 4 years, they adopted the culture, they adopted the language, and became like the top of their class. Mm-hmm. And so it is amazing, it's what you put into it, but, we come from different areas, different situations. Some are from war-torn areas, some are from very poverty-filled areas, and coming here, our teachers stepped up. These districts, they stepped up and said, okay, Lackawanna School District, they stepped up and said, we're going to meet this cause, no matter what it is. And it wasn't in their budget. It wasn't budgeted, for these individuals to be part of the program coming, but they came in and took them anyway and said, okay, we're going to do our best, to help them succeed. And when you talk about education earlier, it's not just, okay, my child going to graduate from high school. Mm-hmm. That high school diploma had to be meaningful. It have to have standard behind it, know, and go to college. Or it's not just go to college. We have vocational programs out there that they can go to. So we want to really work on, building more vocational programs, that and job training programs that they can actually go from high school right into a job, because everybody's not meant for college. Right. Everybody, or they're not ready to go to college, So let's see, what other avenues that we have, but it's all education.
But Buffalo Public Schools, and I don't know if the charter and private, but so I sit on the board of Northland. Those schools work with like the Northland Workforce Training Center, right? Mm-hmm. So that they can, if they're not ready for a UB or Buff State or whatever, they can go to Northland, they can get a certificate, or they can get this 2-year and get a vocational type of job, whether it's electrician. And I know the Buffalo Public Schools, you all work
our
with
CTE programs.
Right. You all, in the summertime, you have them come over and they learn more about Northland and learn about the opportunities that's available to them, so that if they're not, say, a 4-year college student, they can go to Northland and get maybe a 2-year or a certificate.
Northland is affiliated with Alfred State College.
Yeah, I was going to say there are also other community colleges.
Absolutely. Erie,
as well. Yep.
Absolutely.
Erie Community College.
Villa Maria, so you can, there's an opportunity is why I call it. So
yes, it's very important, but we have to, have a child, help them understand who they are, what they want to be, what their talents are, and some may go in nursing. So we was helping to build a nursing program with the Buffalo schools, So if that's their course of action they want to go into, a lot of the children want to go into theater. We got the greatest theater program ever.
I thought you were excited about that one.
So, we bring out attorneys. What makes Buffalo schools so unique is that you can actually go to a school that's dedicated to certain programs and it's like there's no other place in the country. Mm-hmm. And so it's just amazing. You can go to Hutch Tech for engineering. You can go to our culinary school.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. You go to Burgard for automotive, and aeronautics. You can also go to like McKinley, to do wood shop, building, construction. And so pipe fitting, we have contracts to be built with unions now, to get kids acclimated and they're working on things like the new 33 project that's going to come or what's going on in Orchard Park with them building a new stadium. We have avenues for our children to be hired, through all these different programs, and all this
happens because of the educators.
Because educators, our administrative staff, the superintendent,
making it happen.
Yes.
Right? They're making it happen for
a lot of community events, a lot of speeches, a lot of talking, but but the results are amazing.
Mm-hmm. And you have to do that, right? People have to communicate and they have to network in order to be able to get folks to the next
access
level.
And opportunity.
Absolutely.
Access and opportunity.
So for those just tuning in, I want you all to remind us of the details because we have the Excellence in Education Awards on May 3rd. It's the 6th annual award ceremony, and you all have been 10 years strong.
8 days.
10 years. The foundation has been 10 years strong, and the Excellent Education Awards, this is our 6th year. It's going to be amazing. So if you haven't gotten your ticket,
I was going to say, are tickets still available?
Very minimal.
I was going to say, because there's a lot of educators, so I can imagine tickets are slim pickings.
But there are still some available. Go on friendsforabetterbuffalo.com. Right now. And hopefully there's still some left for you. It is a normally sold out event because we are trying to highlight and really celebrate these folks. So friendsforabetterbuffalo.com. But it's an amazing show. Red carpet starts at 5 and the show starts at 6:30.
Over 600 people will be in attendance.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You get to see your family members. You get to see teachers. You get to see, your mommy, being celebrated, even if you're a winner or not a winner, the whole program is designed to celebrate.
That level with over 50 people, Judy, to even get to be a finalist is a huge deal. That's a big accomplishment.
And our influencers in Buffalo are the award presenters. Like I said, the CEOs of companies, college presidents.
Let's talk about this. We have the greatest presenters for each category, I think in Western New York. So we have everybody from, the governor being, present or representative for the governor's office to be there. We have our college presidents, they come and present to these individuals. We have our elected officials, our congressmen and senators and assembly leaders. They all come to be part of the show, and they present. We also have people that's in like our Fortune 500 companies, our local, they come and present, or our nonprofit organizations. So you got the best presenters,
NFL
and NFL, yes. Mm-hmm. We have baseball, hockey. Every year, one of our great, I'll just mention one of my friends and former colleagues, Steve Tasker, support us every single year he comes out. And Mary Wilson, she flies in from Florida just to be part of the show. And every year we also have a Trailblazer Award. And it was amazing. You want to talk a little about the Trailblazer Award?
Yeah, so we really try to highlight someone in the educational space. Doesn't necessarily have to be a teacher, principal, anyone like that, just anyone, an educational leader. And so over the last 4 years, we've selected, Friends for a Better Buffalo, the organization, have selected a trailblazer. And so we announce that person at the show. And so sometimes it's a surprise to the trailblazer themselves. And then other times they know ahead of time. So, but we really try to ensure someone who has given their life again to this space and encouraging everyone throughout Western New York to keep pushing forward in this educational industry, this educational just space. We want to encourage them. And then we want those risers, those folks who are coming up, those emerging leaders, to see what has been done. And again, we give folks their roses while they're still here. So that's why we want to honor the trailblazers. So every year we honor. And you mentioned Linda Appleby as one of your educators. Miss Linda Appleby was one of our trailblazers probably about 4 years ago. Yeah, she was one of our first trailblazers.
As she should. She's one of the best.
Yeah.
Well,
yes. And last year we Actually, we flew our Trailblazer winner in from New York last year. And it was Dr. Patricia Ramsey. She's the president of Medgar Evers College.
Medgar Evers, yes.
Our predominantly black colleges here in here in New York State. And she didn't know. So we flew her in, and her and her husband, and they came in. They thought they was going to present. Then all of a sudden,
be an award presenter. She was an award presenter.
But we called her up that she was the actual winner of the award. So all you see is nothing but tears on stage from teachers. We hear stories about the struggles that they're going through. They talk all the time. They call us and say things that they're going through, but they also say it on stage. And tears are really on stage, and it's the emotion, very emotional show because it touched the hearts. And also, we've been said that we are the best dressed awards show in Western New York, because we talk about Hollywood. The teachers come like it's Hollywood, and listeners, just listen to this. We got teachers, they call and say that they started doing their diet around Thanksgiving, and they bought their dress that they're gonna wear to the show 2 sizes too small. So they gotta make sure they get into these dresses so they look their best. They don't look like teachers when they get there.
So not just the finalists, but all the attendees as well.
They come. I am super excited to see the fly educators and the surprise winners that come for an amazing event. You've been listening to What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media, where today we celebrated the incredible educators shaping our community and tackle challenges that face us every day. A huge thank you to Terrence and Nina Hurd and Friends for a Better Buffalo for joining us and reminding us why it's so important to uplift those who dedicate their lives to education. And as you head into your day, think about the teacher, principal, or school staff member who made a difference in your life. I'm Naila Ansari Catilo, and this is What's Next. Until next time, stay engaged, stay informed, and keep supporting our community.
Support for WBFO and What's Next comes from our members and from Health Foundation for Western and Central New York, where racial and socioeconomic health equity are prioritized. Learn more about building healthier neighborhoods at hfwcny.org.